Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Ask SplitSuit a Question. I'm James SplitSuit Sweeney here for thepokerbank.com, and today we're going to answer one of your questions. So today's question comes from Matthew G, and this came privately via Facebook. And Matthew says, I just wanted to know what you think a reasonable win rate would be playing 2-5 live tables with agrofish. I'm starting to get a real grasp of the game and feel like it could potentially offer a decent side income, but I don't want to commit hundreds of hours of study if I can never win a decent hourly rate. The rake where I play is 10% capped at $25, and I also wonder if that cuts into the win rate too much. Thanks again! So while we're talking about hourly win rates, I like to talk about kind of the top side of the spectrum. So usually about 10% of a buy-in is going to be the top side of the spectrum. So at 1-2, I'd say about 20 an hour would be top side, at 2-5 about 40 an hour, and at 5-10 about 75 an hour. And things will obviously influence that. Rake, like you mentioned, is going to influence that. Your own edge on the game is going to influence that. And also stack depth. In a shallower game, I would expect the ideal win rates to drop a little bit. In a deeper game, those win rates could possibly even go a little bit higher. But your edge on the game and rake on the game are going to be two very, very important things. So as you get stronger and stronger as a player, getting to the top side of the hourly, so 40 an hour at 2.5 is certainly reasonable. But when you're still learning and growing, making somewhere between 15 and 20 or 15 and 25 an hour is certainly reasonable. Just remember kind of what the top side is and what you're working towards, and then factor that into, is it worth putting in those hundreds and hundreds of hours? Now, I definitely want to talk about the second part of your question, because that's definitely the more interesting part. You said that you play in a game where it's 10% capped at 25. That is huge, 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 huge rake, and really, really absurd and disgusting. So normally, I'm not sure exactly where you live, but normally I'm looking at 10% rate capped at like $4 or $5. That's going to be more normal and what I would consider appropriate rake. Something like 10% capped at 25 is just ginormous and really, really awful. And I'd say it's questionable whether you can even beat that game in the long run, to be totally honest. And that's nothing to say about your skill, it's just simply the way the game is formatted, it's definitely unfavorable for you. So unless that game is full of just drunk idiots that are just hurling money at you as quickly as possible, if there's any sort of toughness in that game, I'd say that that game is probably not the best one for you, and I would hunt around and see if you could find some better games, because that rake is just killer. So Matthew, hopefully that answers your question. Again, kind of top side at 2.5 is going to be about 40 an hour. So it's up to you whether or not you think that's worth putting in the hundreds of hours. But like I said, given the exact parameters of your game, I'd probably look elsewhere and see if you can find a game with better structure and then go forward from there. But thank you very much for the great question, and if you or anyone else has a poker-related hand or question, feel free to leave it on our Google Plus page. Leave a link for that in the description box. And also please make sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying these types of videos. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Otherwise, good luck out there, and happy grinding.